Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, where we bring you the latest and most exciting sports news every single day. And today's story, it's one that might just fly under the radar for now, but not for long. Because if what we're hearing is true, and all signs suggest something is brewing behind the scenes, then the Lakers might be on the verge of unleashing a hidden weapon during the playoffs. One that no one is quite prepared for. And no, it's not who you think. Sure, all the buzz right now is centered on Luka Doncic finally suiting up in purple and gold. That blockbuster trade was the headline grabber, and rightfully so. But there's another name from that deal, one that's quietly lurking in the background. And if you listen closely, the whispers are growing louder by the day. Today, we're talking about Maxi Kleber. Yes, you heard that right. Maxi Kleber. The 6 feet 10 inches sharpshooting, switchable forward who hasn't played a single minute in a Lakers jersey. But now, after weeks of silence and uncertainty, he's suddenly back on the court. Light drills, movement, team activities. And that changes everything. Because here's the thing, JJ Redick didn't need to say much. He didn't need to give a timeline. The moment he confirmed that Kleber was working with the team again, every sharp-eyed insider started connecting the dots. And now fans are asking the same question. Is JJ Redick keeping a playoff wild card in his back pocket? Let's break this down. Kleber hasn't played since January 25th, back when he was still with the Mavericks. That game against Boston was unremarkable. 11 minutes, 0 field goals, barely a blip. But what came after was serious. Right foot discomfort, extended evaluations, and ultimately surgery. The assumption? His season was done. But then came the trade. Doncic to LA was the headline, but the Lakers didn't just take on Kleber as filler. This wasn't about balancing the books. The front office wanted him. Why? Because they know his value. Because they understand what he brings that no one else on this roster quite does. Let's get into the details. Across 8 seasons with Dallas, Kleber averaged 6.4 points, 4.4 rebounds, and shot 36% from deep in the playoffs. That's not just respectable, it's valuable. Especially when you remember how few bigs in the NBA can stretch the floor and defend multiple positions. And in the postseason, those skills, they become priceless. But maybe the most important number, 44 playoff games. That's experience. That's pressure tested. That's someone who's been there when the lights are brightest. Now imagine this. The Lakers are grinding through a first-round series against Minnesota, a team that lives in the paint. Towns, Gobert. Twin Towers. That front court punishes you if you can't space the floor. So what happens if JJ Redick suddenly throws Kleber into the mix? Could he drag Gobert out to the arc, clearing the paint for Luka and Reeves to attack downhill? Could he provide that missing front court spacing that's been so inconsistent all year? And here's a deeper layer. What if this was the plan all along? Is it possible the Lakers have been slow playing Kleber's return, waiting for the perfect matchup to flip the script? Now, we're not saying he's going to start Game 1. That's unlikely. But Game 4, Game 5, a second-round showdown where adjustments define the series? That's where someone like Kleber becomes a game-changer. And don't overlook the chemistry factor. Luka and Kleber played years together in Dallas. The pick-and-pop connection is already built in. They know each other's tendencies. Their two-man game has punished defenses before, and it can do it again. But now with LeBron on the floor, too. Suddenly, the Lakers have a three-headed offensive monster. Here's another wrinkle. The Lakers' rotation at the 4 and 5 is talented, but inconsistent. Christian Wood gives you offense, but not always defense. Jared Vanderbilt gives you energy and rebounding, but struggles with spacing. And LeBron, he can still dominate in the paint, but every minute he spends banging with bigger bodies takes a toll. So what if Kleber is the missing piece that ties it all together? Someone who can space the floor, play smart defense, and allow LeBron to conserve energy for crunch time? But of course, it's not all sunshine. There are real questions. Can he get into game shape fast enough? Will JJ Redick trust him in high-pressure moments after months away? Will his foot hold up against the physicality of postseason basketball? And maybe the biggest question of all, is this too little, too late? Some insiders believe the Lakers are looking past round 1, aiming to insert Kleber into the lineup against a more favorable matchup. Perhaps against the Nuggets, where Nikola Jokic's gravity makes switchable bigs absolutely vital. Or even against the Thunder, where spacing and defensive versatility become even more critical. If you're J.J. Redick, do you use Kleber now to test the waters? Or do you save him as a playoff curveball, something no team is ready for? Because let's not forget, in the playoffs, surprises matter. Remember Alex Caruso in 2020? Nobody expected him to be that impactful. Remember Bruce Brown last year with Denver? Matchup nightmares, both of them. Could Maxi Kleber be the Lakers' version of that story? Let's zoom out. Kleber is under contract beyond this season. So this return isn't just about right now. It's about building continuity. It's about showing what kind of lineup combinations this team could rely on next year, especially if the front office makes more moves to optimize around Luka and LeBron. If Kleber fits, that's one less piece to worry about in the offseason. If he doesn't, at least you know. But there's also the locker room dynamic. Kleber has stayed locked in. He's been vocal in practice. He's shown leadership even while injured. And those things don't go unnoticed, especially by LeBron, who values professionalism and playoff focus more than anything. Players respect other players who grind in silence, who don't pout, who stay ready. And if Kleber's first few minutes on the floor are sharp, if he hits a corner three, makes a key rotation, draws a charge, that builds instant trust. And here's something else to consider, the psychological impact on opposing coaches. You prep all week for LeBron, for Luka, for the shooters. Then suddenly there's a 6 feet 10 inches sniper coming off the bench who can switch onto your guards and space your bigs out of the paint. That kind of curveball ruins game plans. And in the chess match of playoff basketball, it only takes one unexpected adjustment to flip a series. So now the speculation is swirling. Fans are asking, insiders are whispering, could Kleber be the X factor? Could the Lakers, for all their stars, be holding back the one piece that unlocks the next level? Because sometimes it's not the stars that win you a series. It's the guy no one saw coming. The one who hits a dagger three with 2 minutes left. The one who rotates to block a layup at the rim. The one who makes the hustle play that turns the tide. Could Kleber be that guy? But what do you think about all of this? Is Maxi Kleber the Lakers' secret playoff weapon? Or is this just wishful thinking? Too late in the season to make a real impact? Personally, I'm fired up. Because this is what playoff basketball is all about. The drama, the strategy, the unpredictability. And if Maxi Kleber gives us even 10 to 15 minutes of high IQ, stretch big basketball each night, that could literally be the difference between a second-round exit and a run to the Western Conference Finals. Let's not overlook how unique Kleber's skill set really is. He's one of the few players in the league who can genuinely switch onto guards, hold his ground in the post, and then bury a three on the other end. That kind of versatility doesn't just fit into a rotation, it elevates it. And when you think about potential playoff opponents, especially teams like the Suns or Clippers, versatility is everything. One possession you need to switch onto Kevin Durant, the next you need to rotate to the corner to contest a shooter like Norman Powell. Kleber has done both. He's done it at the highest level. What also stands out is how quietly this return is being managed. There hasn't been a social media hype train. No dramatic press releases. Just quiet, steady progress. And that's a Redick hallmark. Do the work, stay silent, then strike when the moment is right. Insiders around the league are starting to compare the situation to 2015, when the Warriors inserted Andre Iguodala into the finals starting lineup. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't expected. But it changed everything. Could Kleber have a similar ripple effect, even in a smaller role? It's also worth noting how injury rehabilitation has evolved. Players used to need months just to get back to practice. Now, with better training staffs, advanced analytics, and smarter load management, guys like Kleber can be brought back into action in a much more strategic way. That bodes well for his potential effectiveness. And don't forget the emotional lift this could give the locker room. When a guy battles back from injury, earns his way back onto the court, and contributes in a key moment, it electrifies the team. It's a reminder that everyone matters, that every player has a moment to shine. There's also the chess game of playoff series adjustments. Game 1 is about your base plan. Game 2, you start reacting. But by Game 3 and Game 4, it's about throwing encounters your opponent hasn't prepared for. That's where Kleber could come in, not just to contribute, but to disrupt. Another intriguing angle is the psychological effect on Kleber himself. After being sidelined for months, he knows this might be his shot. He's not coming in expecting 30 minutes. He's coming in knowing that even a short burst of excellence could swing momentum. That clarity of role can sharpen focus. Fans might not realize it yet, but Kleber is the kind of player who thrives in chaos. Scrambled defensive possessions, broken plays, late shot clock situations, he doesn't panic. He spaces. He rotates. He makes the smart pass. He plays winning basketball. Let's talk leadership for a second. LeBron sets the tone, obviously. But behind closed doors, veterans like Kleber carry weight too. When you've been through playoff wars, when you've guarded Kawhi Leonard and helped contain Nikola Jokic, your words carry more meaning in the huddle. There's also a bit of poetic justice to this. Kleber was never the headline. Not when he entered the league. Not in Dallas. Not in the trade. But what if, just once, he gets to be the difference maker? What if this is the moment he rewrites his NBA story? Even if his impact isn't felt immediately in the box score, the ripple effect could be massive. More spacing means better driving lanes. Smarter defense means fewer breakdowns. More trust in the second unit means starters stay fresher. It all adds up. And think about the narrative if it works. The Lakers, once thought to be shallow in the frontcourt, suddenly find gold in a player no one saw coming. A player who, up until a few weeks ago, wasn't even expected to return this season. It's also worth noting the Lakers' current Achilles heel, defending the pick and roll against stretch bigs. Teams have been exploiting that gap all season. But Kleber, he defends that action better than almost anyone. His timing on the hedge, his footwork on the recovery, it's textbook. And Redick knows it. One scout even mentioned that Kleber's defensive IQ is top tier among role players. He doesn't gamble. He doesn't chase stats. He just stays in position and forces tough shots. That's exactly the kind of reliability coaches crave in a playoff grind. Now think about this. The Lakers have one of the slowest bench front courts in the league. That's a problem when facing pace and space offenses like Oklahoma City or Golden State. Kleber doesn't just help. He might be the only answer on the roster who can slide his feet and recover without getting burned. And what about small ball lineups? That's where things get really spicy. Imagine LeBron at the 5, Kleber at the 4, surrounded by shooters. Suddenly, every player on the court can pass, shoot, and switch. That's a nightmare for traditional defenses. What's exciting is how under the radar this all is. Opposing teams are preparing for Rue, for Vanderbilt, maybe even Hayes. But Kleber? He's not even in the scouting report yet. That's the kind of advantage that only comes once, and the Lakers might be ready to capitalize. There's also an element of redemption here. Kleber has heard the whispers that he was just a throw-in, that he might not be the same after surgery, that his best days are behind him. You don't think he wants to prove people wrong? This is his chance. And don't underestimate how powerful that motivation can be. Some players shrink under playoff pressure. Others rise. Kleber has shown in past series, especially against the Clippers, that he's not afraid of the moment. He might even crave it. Let's not forget, Kleber has had moments in the playoffs where he changed the tone of a game with a single sequence. Block, a 3, a stop. That's all it takes sometimes. One play, one spark. And if he gives the Lakers that, he becomes more than a rotation player. He becomes a weapon. There's also strategic deception at play. If Redick can keep Kleber's status ambiguous, opposing coaches have to waste prep time. Do they guard for small ball? Do they expect size? That uncertainty is a tool. And in the playoffs, misdirection is as valuable as talent. And speaking of talent, don't forget that Kleber was a core piece in Dallas' deep playoff runs. He wasn't just along for the ride. He was guarding stars, hitting clutch shots, making winning reads. This isn't new territory for him. That poise? It travels. Now, picture a scenario where the Lakers are down 6 in the fourth quarter. The offense is stalling. The lane is clogged. Redick checks in Kleber. First possession, corner 3. Next trip down, perfect switch and contest. Suddenly, the momentum shifts. That's how quickly things can change. Even if Kleber only logs 8 to 12 minutes a night, those minutes could swing quarters. And if he ends up being the kind of role player who gives you just enough to stay afloat while the stars rest, that's championship value right there. I'll say it again, he doesn't have to be a star. He just has to be ready. And if the Lakers play this right, he could be the spark that ignites the whole thing. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Should JJ Redick play Kleber right away? Wait until round 2. Or save him for a desperate moment? I can't wait to read your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Lakers News Fan Report, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Because trust me, this playoff run is just getting started. We'll be here every step of the way. See you next time.